approximately 3:30 p.m., the protest activity that we had been working on was starting to break up. People were starting to egress out of the park. At 3:37 p.m., officers working the event got on the air and indicated there had been shots fired and that there was a person down, and they also indicated that a suspect was in custody. What we determined was that there was a verbal altercation that transpired at the area of the shooting, which was between the the Art Museum and the Denver Public Library, probably just south of 14th Avenue. There was a verbal altercation that transpired. Firearm was discharged. Individual was shot and later pronounced deceased. There were 2 guns recovered at the scene, and right now that's what we have.
And joining us now from Abuja, a Rise correspondent, Carl Bostic. Carl, it's good to have you with us. Exciting moments recently. What else do we know about President Trump's health? Is he healthy enough to return to the campaign trail at this stage? We still don't have any details regarding his last negative test.
That's right, and that's really part of the problem. And if you look at what outside medical experts are saying, who are familiar with coronavirus and other pulmonary ailments, they're saying that the wording is vague enough to not really give you a clear picture of how healthy he is. In other words, they're saying that he doesn't pose a risk for transmission, but nowhere in the language of that note does it say that he has tested negative. We don't see that language at all. And when he talks about diagnostic tests showing improvement, note specific diagnostic tests are referenced. In other words, there's a possibility that he could still have the virus in his system, maybe at a reduced level, but nonetheless in his system. And he's also suggesting, for example, that the virus is no longer able to replicate itself. And the medical experts are saying that there's no test yet that conclusively show that a virus is not replicating. There are tests that are experimental only in nature, but there are tests in which a sample can be taken from the patient to see if it can replicate itself, like in an outside in a lab setting or whatever. But he didn't reference those kind of settings. But more concerning still to medical experts is the fact that he had a number of experimental drug cocktails, antiviral cocktails administered to him, including the dexamethasone steroid, which is only administered if you're in a severe form of coronavirus and requiring supplemental oxygen, which is what he did require. And if that's important to note, it's because usually patients with an infection that severe usually needs to be in isolation for up to 20 days. So here's the doctor releasing this note saying that after 10 days he's now fit to go, fit to campaign. 10 days is the recommended period for isolation if you've only exhibited mild symptoms. But many medical experts are concerned the fact that based on the medications he's been administered, all experimental in nature, and also the steroids, he should perhaps be in isolation much, much longer. And we don't even know the kind of testing that he's been given, and he still has a virus in the system, and there's no test that can conclusively say that you are not contagious, that you're not still able to pass on the virus to someone else. That's why they worry that a note like this that says he's ready to return to the campaign trail could not only be problematic for his health, but for others he comes into contact with. Also pointing out finally that usually a patient who's been under severe form of coronavirus actually is still prone to a deterioration of health going into the second week if it's not monitored closely.
And Carl, how is the president's campaign at this stage of the race, especially as it appears he seems to be losing the support of the seniors?
Well, again, you cited some statistics earlier, and you mentioned that demographic. To put it very bluntly, right now for President Trump, it's a race against time. While he was trailing Hillary Clinton this time 4 years ago, no president has had a deficit to overcome this big. Look, depending on what polls you're looking at, for example, this morning, a poll by Washington Post and ABC News has him trailing by 12 points nationally. And in those key battleground states, such as Pennsylvania, he's still trailing significantly at margins much, much greater than Hillary Clinton. And perhaps more tellingly, no candidate has ever overcome such a deficit, even by a popular deficit, to win the Electoral College. And that's why Pennsylvania is so important, because it has 20 electoral votes. It's never been done before. So this would be another mountain to climb, so to speak. And already he's lost valuable time, because the debate was scheduled for this week, but the debate commission said because we're uncertain about his state of health, we can only hold a virtual debate, at which Donald Trump refused. And he said he would instead hold his own separate campaign rallies and town hall things. But nothing compares to having a televised debate, because you're guaranteed an audience, in this case, of tens of millions of people, upwards to 60 million people. By holding campaign rallies in such as Florida, Pennsylvania, Iowa, all key battleground states at best, he's getting thousands of people at this rally, and some coverage, but nothing on a network level, which he badly, badly needs to really turn around the election when the window's closing as it is.
Indeed, Carl, and we did see the president hold a rally at the White House despite opposition to it. In view of this, how has his health and stand-in affected all the races at this rate?
You need to keep in mind that this is not only a race for the White House. This is also a race for states across the country. In other words, they'll be electing senators, they'll be electing congressmen to go to the House of Representatives. And once again, the fate of the control of those houses hangs on this election. The Democrats already have an overwhelming majority in the House of Representatives, and are expected to actually increase that by anywhere from a dozen or more seats in the House. But it's the Senate that's key, because it's the Senate that can enable the president to really ram through legislation, or for that matter, ram through a Supreme Court nominee, as we're seeing right now. However, the Republicans, they only have a 53 to 47 margin. And now, for the first time, they're in danger of losing their majority. They're upwards to 5 or 6 seats now are in the toss-up category, and could be leaning Democrat. People, quite frankly, are very, very concerned and are alienated by the president's response to the pandemic. Overwhelmingly, the gap is maybe 17 points in terms of who they feel is better able to handle the pandemic. That's a gap in favor of Joe Biden. And you can tell that there is a difference in how Republicans are acting in their own state and local campaigns. They're no longer saying whether or not they back President Trump. They're saying that, they're for what's in the best interest of the states. And these are key senators that we're talking about, who up until now were walking lockstep with the White House. And now they're, quite frankly, campaigning independently. It's as though they're saying that the race for the White House is a foregone conclusion in favor of Joe Biden. And now the next most important challenge is to preserve their majority in the Senate, which looks increasingly fragile with each passing day, with only barely 3 weeks to go.
And Carl, how devastating will be the loss of the senior support of the senior citizens? Very briefly, please.
Well, it's not only senior citizens, but it's also the gender gap. Nationally, he's lost 31 points to Joe Biden amongst women. And for seniors, which matters in Pennsylvania, for example, who depend on insurance for coronavirus treatments, he's losing that segment as well in double digits. And that's why his re-election chances are really at risk right now.
All right, on that note, Carl Bostic, many thanks for the updates. Good to have you. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
Lynx Africa Body Wash. Get knockout clean.
Our skin tells a story of daring, youthful adventures and lifelong friendships. Stories that deserve the best care. Dove Body Wash's new formula works with your skin for lasting care. So your skin can keep telling stories beautifully. New Dove Body Wash. Proven lasting care for the skin you live in.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Let's go, Peloton. Dave and Carter, if you've got this.
Welcome to your 30-minute full body strength. Nice work, Peloton. I got you. Come on. Amazing work. You absolutely crushed it.
On behalf of the Czech people and government, I wanted to wish Nigeria all the best on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of its independence. And since Nigeria is still a very young democracy with mostly very young population, we have asked a brilliant Czech Nigerian and goodwill ambassador of my country to prepare a dancing congratulation created with the contribution of young dancers from Lagos. Happy anniversary, Nigeria.
Hi, I am Yemi AD, and I am son of Vera from Prague and Yomi from Ibadan. I am also Goodwill Ambassador of the Czech Republic, and I have the pleasure to deliver very special compliments for the 60th anniversary in Nigeria on behalf of Czech Embassy in Abuja. We wish you, all Nigerian sons and daughters, all the best for Independence Day. And since dance is a universal language and one of Nigeria's greatest heritage, we created this choreography with our talented Nigerian dancers so we could celebrate together.
Glad to have you back. You're watching Newsday and the special edition of the Ondo State election and the collation of results. We have with us now in our Abuja studios, Dr. Obire Odiapo. Dr. Obire, good to have you join us on Newsday.
Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Well, let's start by asking how you assess the entire process of the Ondo elections and the collation of results so far.
Well, from the feelers, I think the election has gone well. The informations reaching out are quite encouraging. INEC has lived up to some high level of expectations. The security agencies, the politicians, and everyone that is concerned about this election, they've been able to act well, act accordingly, and things are getting better by the day. So from what happened in Ondo State, it simply shows that the people are getting aware more and more by the day. So it's been a good report, even if there are some little issues here and there, people complaining about card readers not working, and some areas where some people complain about vote buying and all that. So, but so far so good. It's been a peaceful one than other previous elections.
You're right, Dr. Obire, and to add to that, there were also pockets of violence reported, but not enough to mar the overall outcome of the elections. But when you hear about such incidents, when do we overcome such scenarios, and can we truly eradicate violence in elections?
Yes, we can eradicate violence in elections if the youths stop presenting themselves to be used for these violent activities. Because when you talk about violence during elections, during campaigns and all that, it is the youths. They are the ones that are carrying out this violence. There is no elder there, and there is no child. But if our politicians can decide that, oh, it is time for us to do the right thing, it is time to have a proper vision for our youths, other than using them to create violence during elections or getting away with what they can get. So we really need to look at some of these things, how we go about trying to secure the seat of power. The youths have a serious major role to play here. So when the youth say no, no violence can happen.
And since yesterday, the elections ended at about 2:30 p.m. and collation of results have followed since then. We've gotten the results of 13 local government areas out of the 18, and there are 2 more left to go. These 2 are from the riverine areas, Ilaje and Ondo. I want to ask you, does anything surprise you with the results you have seen so far?
Well, I would not say I am surprised, because every state is peculiar, and they have a voting pattern also. If you look at the results so far, you will see that 3 political parties are struggling to pick up the governorship seat. But then it has been this pattern. PDP in 2012 also Mimiko of Labour Party, the PDP, and the ACN were the parties that struggled this way. And even in 2016, you still have the ACN, you have the AD, you have the APC, and the PDP. Now it's APC, ZLP, and PDP. So it's been this pattern for years, and the reports, the results are coming out according to that same pattern. And it's also showed that probably there's something the governor is doing well or doing right. APC is leading at the moment in most of the results that have been called. So I think the people are deciding. The people are deciding. Godfatherism is gradually going away, and the people are gradually coming back to take the right decision on who to govern them. They may have seen one or two things because these candidates...
Dr. Obirio, do hold your thoughts. We're going to have to interject now. We understand there's a press briefing being held by the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, probably about the nationwide protest against SARS. Let's take a listen.
Discussions on the subject of their concerns. Our valued covenant with the citizens of this nation is to serve and protect them and integrate their concerns and views into our practices, especially within the dictates of community policing principles, which constitute a critical component of national policing and internal security strategy of the federal government. Following a review of the current developments, and in due cognizance of the wide and legitimately held concerns of well-meaning citizens on the existence and operations of Special Anti-Robbery Squad as a responsive and citizen-oriented police force, it is hereby directed as follows. 1. The Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations, the 36 state police commands, and the Federal Capital Territory, where they currently exist. 2. All officers and men currently serving in the unit